All right, all right. It's 6:32. Sorry, I'm 2 minutes late. Damn it. Anyway, my name is Scott Rudler. I'm the Chief Strategic Officer at T3Live.com. Welcome to the 6:30 Club. The 6:30 Club was established during the pandemic when everyone needed a little bit of advice because that was a crazy time. And since I've been doing this for 25 years and I had the time, I said, why not, help everybody navigate on an active level, intermediate, long term, and here we are. It's 2024, and we still do it about 20 minutes a day. Get your morning going. Show you a little bit about the routine, the process, and how I've been doing this for 25 years. If you kind of like what you see and you make some money, we do have a lot of stuff going on at T3 Live as far as the Alpha Team and Brother All Access. But anyway, it is the second week of 2024. So far, they've taken away some of the excess gains that they tacked on during November, December to make everyone feel well so they can get their statements. No, I'm kidding. They don't do that. Just sometimes. Anyway, so with that said, not the biggest deal. But again, if you're an active trader and you trade real time for a living and you get paid monthly and quarterly, if you were two position long thinking flows would come in, they didn't. Instead, they actually took profits on the names that were up a lot. This way they could pay them in 2025. Well, that's off. So, the question is, where do we go down to get a better level to get more of a sustained move? On Friday, actually, we made some money buying the dip. We played the Qs, we played some semis, and, basically you had to take that trade into strength. The 8-day, that was, support in the 21-day for most of the move from November, December, now all of a sudden is turned into resistance. So that's the type of sequence we are in for now. We got to see where it goes. So if you look here at the chart, this is when the sequence kind of started back on November 1st, and we're above the 8-day moving average pretty much all the way to the new year. Then you had the small ascending channel here, and we broke the day before the end of the year. They shook the tree a little bit to say, hey guys, wake up. You've been in cruise control. Maybe you got to grab the wheel. We're not autonomous driving yet. Anyway, that was a good analogy, right? Anyway, from there, we broke below the 8-day, got rejected there, and we've been below since, and we hit a low of 46.82. So the question is, where do we get a decent area that you could actually put some swing longs on and keep them on for a little bit? So we'll have to see. At this point, this is a level underneath. This is kind of no man's land. Really, this would be great. Just a matter of when and how it gets there to 46. Remember that 4,600 was the summer top, and then here's the 50-day. So, we'll see how long it takes to get there. The CPI is on Thursday. It wouldn't be bad if we get there before Thursday, right? Because then maybe we could take some options and get ready for what could be, a move to start with inflation heading in the right direction. I did pass New Jersey gas. It's almost below $3, which is a good sign. So the Fed has done a little bit of their job, and I know housing has come in a little bit and rent. So, we're not near 2%, but it's heading in the right direction. But we're also not in an environment where they're going to cut 5 times. So the street got ahead of themselves. The Fed funds rate, which they said would be like 3.72, it's now more like, 3.96, which is probably makes a bit more sense. So anyway, right now the SPYs are down 60 cents. Let's go to the SPYs. SPYs have a kind of a low area of this 466 to 468. This morning they're looking a little bit like 467.30, so down 60 cents. Not too bad considering Boeing's down 8%, which we'll get to. Here the same thing, 460 would be a pretty compelling area. I thought maybe a head and shoulders top pattern would build here and take a little bit longer. Still kind of there. It's not perfect, but I was just kind of having a vision of where you could maybe see where support is and where you wouldn't want to, buy strength and more like sell it like Friday and book trades. So at this point, I think this low here, to be precise, was 46.43. So I put a zone here because lately the algos are playing zones versus pivots. And we'll see if this could hold for a little bit. And if it does, and then can't get back above the 8-day, and loses the 21-day, then here's your 460. However, that's going to happen. The Qs let us lower last week. Also, an ascending channel that broke to the downside. Then you had a gap to start the year below the 8-day because of 2 different downgrades in Apple. The first one, took a lot of the oomph out of some of those mega caps, and People didn't want to pay a high multiple for Apple. So they sold a little bit of Microsoft, a little Amazon, a little Google, a little Meta, because they all have pretty high elevated P's. Not maybe as much, whatever. Just said, hey, we don't need to buy these things high and sell them higher. So for now, this one I'll put the exact pivot 395. What is this? 395.34. The Qs right now, not showing any relative weakness today. Probably going to be a Dow, type of move lower with the, with Boeing. So the SPYs are down 57 cents. Qs are only down 40 cents. So above this spot, below the moving averages. So it just basically needs time. Sometimes you have times of momentum, times of, holding a lot of positions, massaging them kind of like November, December, or the second quarter last year. And then sometimes you just have to take some trades, be tactical, and get a little frustrated, but not too frustrated, because that's what the market wants to do. It wants to frustrate you. So anyway, that's that. The IWM also, everyone got so damn bullish. Freaking Tom Lee saying it's going to go up 50%. I'm like, listen, Tom, you've been really good. I like a bullish stance, because over time the bull market does win. I'd rather somebody be talking about a bull market so everyone puts monthly flows in their 401k or their son's 529 versus always talking about the world ending. If the world's going to end, we're not going to know. So it probably won't. So you need to prepare for the future. So anyway, sometimes it's a little bit extra bullish. I was thinking the IWM at some point in the first quarter could be 218. But anyway, it hit 205. It's elevated from the 8-day, then it broke it, and then you had a gap, and now it was rejected on Friday also. They tried to rally when they couldn't. So this is 192.29. I would think this 188 would be compelling. If they can get the IWM to 188 prior to the CPI Thursday, I think that would be a good setup for options into Friday. Ultimately, though, we shall see. It's not the end of the world. If you go, where did I get the 218? I just thought, realistically, or 212, I'm sorry, this is where it broke down from. So for right now, what does this mean if I look at this now? Not a whole hell of a lot. Actually, if you look here, yes, it broke this area and gave you a topping tail. Remember those charts I send out on the weekend saying, know your charts? Well, this was a topping tail. It didn't quite get to 212. You never know where it's going to get. It actually got kind of, I guess, in the middle of this void. And now here's your 8-day on the weekly. So getting to the 8-day, just like the 8-day holding it on the daily is strong, on the weekly is strong. So it's not a big deal. It doesn't mean the rally for 2024 in the small caps might be done and put in the closet. No, it actually means that, hey, this could be healthy from 161 to 205 and pull into here. Then maybe it's going to refresh another move. Just saying. So don't just call it quits there. Just maybe you got in a little late and got a little overexcited. So that happens, right? I get a little overexcited sometimes too. Anyway, XLE, I thought maybe flows would stay there. Still just in this kind of lethargic range. Here's your high, here's your low. Star attack better. Some guys are actually still in the XLE verse 83. It never filled this pro gap. It just, it's not really giving you any kind of real momentum to play. It got above this 86, couldn't hold it. So if you were playing for momentum, remember, get above and stay above. Well, it got above and it didn't hold it. So you had to get out if you was adding a tier here for it to go up into this area. So now it's just still back in the range, kind of a pain in the butt. The banks are coming out with earnings on Friday. I'll get into those on Wednesday. They've had a big move. Actually, might as well post up the XLF. Pretty impressive. Look at the size of this move. Remember right here. This is when I think news came out that JP Morgan was selling, or Jamie was selling some JP Morgan for the first time, and that gave you your last emotional push lower, and then it reclaimed the 8-day. Yes, remember when things get above the 8-day, that means you'll long them, you try and own them, especially if you're active. Well, it's been above the 8-day this entire time. So, the XLF is just very impressive, but it's hard. Now the XLF is really priced for perfection going into earnings, or sometimes they sell the news, so that might be a little tricky. So name-wise, Apple brought us in, brought tech in to start. It's actually up a little bit this morning. Look at that. I was hoping that we would see this 178-ish, which is the 200-day EMA. We started this year with a big gap and go to the downside, so that's what took some of the gas or whatever energy out of Apple. Right now, it's up 32 cents this morning. Look at that. 180, 149. This was your 180. What was that? That was like the little red dog reversal. Not enough to take, to be honest. I was thinking about taking it home over the weekend, but I'm like, you know what? I don't need to be in a rush here. But 180, 88. We'll see if this is the low of the week. Hey, maybe we get some kind of retracement. But there are better patterns out there. Just a question of whether or not they trigger. So what's a better pattern out there? Looks like Microsoft is still hanging in here. It's just really hard. Microsoft, if you're trading actively and you're watching it, it's like the first part of the day has been really strong. And then all of a sudden around 11 o'clock or so, you see a divergence where the market continues and Microsoft lags. And then all of a sudden it rolls over. So it hasn't been a great trading stock. More of a tease. We hate teases, don't we? Anyway, especially back in the day, you get some, hot individual trying to tease everyone and then slaps you. No, I'm kidding. That never happened. But here's Microsoft, up $1.40 this morning, still in this range. Chart people like me would say, hey, don't even touch it. You don't even care about this until it gets above this 377, because in order to get back to the highs, it's got to get above 377 and stay above it. So just let it chop around and let it rebuild through all the institutions or whatever. But some would like to hold things and say, hey, well, why don't I hold it versus this 366? So then I could be long at versus 366. I could add above 373, get a little head start, and then add above there. That's a way to do it too. Everyone trades a little bit different. But anyone doing it in here is getting really chopped up, and that's not fun. I did it a few times. Meta actually perked up on Friday. Interesting. Meta's doesn't really have China exposure, which has been a little bit of a problem for a few companies out there. It got a little ahead of itself into the start of the new year with the ascending channel. Gave you a little bit of a bear type flag, but triggered above it, so it was just a consolidation. What's Meta doing this morning? Meta is down 55 cents. So maybe there's it's lagging a little bit this morning. So maybe there's you could buy versus this spot, which is what this was 348. This high here. So this is 350, 350. I always like to put every point of reference out there. And everyone's like, Red Dog, why do you do everything in the morning? I'm like, because things change in the morning. There are services out there and people out there that do so much work from like 7 o'clock at night till 9 o'clock, and they put 15 charts, and then all of a sudden something happens in the morning and it's all different. I like to do things in the morning so I could see what happened in Asia, what happened in Europe, where the futures are, the upgrades, the downgrades, the news, to make it as real time as possible and as most actionable as possible. So that is why. So anyway, we'll see what happens there. What's it called? I will say in semiconductor land, where I made the most of my money on Friday was AMD. Still not a great pattern, but but it was extended and came in. It looked pretty good. So I'm still in AMD, and actually AMD is rewarding me somewhat this morning. It's up $1.22, so I did stay with it. NVIDIA is still a pain in the butt, to be honest. NVIDIA has a nice price pattern out there, but there's so much banter about it. Now there's a Wall Street Journal article saying those chips that they slowed down a little bit for China are not in demand because China realizes it. They're not dumb. So, so I don't know if that's negativity is going to hold it back for a little bit. Ultimately, I'm long NVIDIA and AMD coming in. NVIDIA still, after all of everyone's ranting and raving, it's just been in the 7th month channel. Okay, and I showed you Apple's below the 50-day, a lot of stocks below the 8 and 21-day. This perked up above the 8-day. That's why I am long it. It does seem like it could be ready to clear this. So it's either now, you could be long versus 483, right? That's defined. You have 7 points of risk. You could add, if it happens to get above 495, which is Friday's high, then you have 499, 504, 505. But I just don't know what to count. I know they're at CES this week. By the way, CES used to be the most fantastic week where you see all the new innovation of all the new technology companies out there. And I bet you there'll be some things that come out of there. So it's good to know when different companies are speaking. I think NVIDIA is at 11:30 today. So be aware. Ever go skiing? Be aware. Ski with care. When you're on the chairlift. Anyway. So right now they did. So maybe people are thinking that, hey, maybe they can go with the cheaper AMD chip because NVIDIA is watering down their chips. I don't know. All I know is it's good. I'm happy that I'm a little, I have exposure to both, and this isn't hurting me, and this is helping me. Isn't that happen sometimes? Anyway, so that's this area. Um, some are saying, hey, Red Dog, why don't we just put on a big call spread again, just in case you went out of our seed when it ignites? You could do that. You could do like a 505 by 525. If this pattern is going to go quickly, I would think it's got to be almost ready. But we'll see. I tried it a few times and lost. So those two semis are looking good. There's also talk of two semiconductor deals out there, which I read about this morning. I don't remember. Was it ANSS? ANSS? Yeah. So here's an ANSS. I think that was one of them that was mentioned. So if there's a semiconductor deal, that shows that there's value out there. It's a good deal. So listen up for that. Now the Qs are green. So so we'll see how the week goes. I know the oscillator was plus 55 last week. Now, I mean, heading into the end of the year, and it actually got all the way down to minus 30. So we're not overbought anymore, and maybe enough people took profits to pay their taxes, and we'll see how it goes. There's just not a lot of excitement out there. What just happened to where my there she is. So I'm focusing still on like AMD and NVIDIA. I'd like to play some kind of bouncing apple at some point. Microsoft's been really choppy. I am, I did join the Peloton, party here. It wasn't really a party, but it had a nice move. We were not expecting it to take over the weekend, but I would think if something does happen and you bought options, it should happen within the next month. I took a lot of Peloton classes during the pandemic. I did, and I fell in love with, not fell in love, but I liked Kendall and Ali Love and Jess and even what's his name? Anyway, they were good and they're still there. And this I've still been paying my monthly fee, so someone should snag them and buy them, even though management mismanaged them somewhat. But all in all, down here you would think it's pretty cheap for that. I remember when I played it here for this whole big run when it was above the 8-day. And I didn't play this extra run, and everyone was mad at me. And then anyway, right here, technically it told you to get out of Peloton at $82, right? It broke everything. So down here, hey, maybe somebody wants to take them out at $9.50. But also, it might just be a January effect where everyone just beat the hell out of it because they needed a tax loss, so it lifts a little bit. So we'll see. So there's two reasons that this could maybe continue. But that's just, that's a January effect side of it. What else? Gold. I'll tell you. I don't know how many people love gold for trading gold. To me, it's a pain in the butt. I guess there's trades here and there. The weekly and monthly look fine, but it's definitely taking this time to be breaking out. Here's GLD. It was loose and wide on Friday. Thank goodness I actually trimmed some of my shorter term calls and I went out a little bit further. So this is 188 right here. Gold is down this morning. It is below that, so that's also why I don't like to be in GLD. I like to do options because there's so many things that happen in gold. Whether it's currencies or some countries need some liquidity. Whatever it is. Last time it came in and held the 50-day. If you guys remember, that was when we actually had a Q trade ahead of the jobs number. So I guess looking at this topping tail, at least no one probably went out super long at GLD wise. If you have call spreads on for it to be breaking above this weekly spot and you go out and went out a few weeks, it is what it is. It's still an inside candle, definitely getting a little faultier, holding higher gives it always a higher probability of a better move, sooner move. Starts breaking down, then it's just choppier, and that's why risk is premium paid for options. It's not an over focus. And if you're an asset allocator, and you put money every month, then just do it that way. Probably 60% equities, 20% bonds, 10% gold, and 10% Bitcoin. Yes, I think you should be 10% Bitcoin, nothing else, every month if you're putting together that whatever that chart is, and you don't trade actively, or you're doing everything. If you do everything, even better. I try and do a little bit of everything. I'm 51. It takes a lot of time to be able to do that too. Boeing. Let's end on Boeing. There's your, actually, you know what? This is an interesting chart. This is the weekly chart. I haven't looked at the weekly chart in a while. This is on the weekly chart. Here's 227-ish, right? which is just the middle of this big rally that happened. I haven't marked up a weekly chart in a while here. Look at the daily chart. I'm trying to think. I hate when traders get trapped in things, because it's just, sometimes there's news that comes out that you weren't anticipating. You weren't anticipating them grounding, the planes again. But that happens every like 5 years. That's why I don't feel comfortable trading Boeing, because although it does move and it's part of the data and it's a great company and they have orders galore, every now and then a bird flies into the damn thing or there's some kind of grounding and you get a side swipe. So Boeing has always been a good investment over time, but trading-wise, things happen. At least here, it broke the 8-day, so active traders who are riding this trend are probably out of it. And now this morning, Boeing is at 227, down 8.4%. Here's your 200 EMA. So 227 is, right here. So that's like no man's land. So I don't think 227 is where you should be looking to buy a dip. It's below the 50-day. It's above the 100. It's not at the 200-day. Who knows the banter that's going to happen back and forth. You might get a 5, 15, 30-minute load of trade against if you happen to love Boeing and you're like, oh my God, it's down 8%. I can buy it finally. I would do that maybe if you don't trade for a living, or if you trade for a living, there could be opportunities there because it's going to move around. But make sure it puts a level in and then trade versus that level. And if it breaks that level, get out of the way. So I'm telling you, 227 is a little bit of no man's land. Because it's not here, it's not there, it's not here. So, and look where it came from. It came from 176 in October. So I'd watch it. It's probably going to make the Dow look, not as strong today, which, again, things rotate, and that's why the Qs look a little stronger. And we'll see what the small caps do. The small caps, like I said before, have come all the way in. What's the small caps doing this morning? They are only down 20 cents. So with that said, it's 6:53. I'm only supposed to do 20 minutes. I do come in with a few positions, and I'm going to massage them. The CES is this week, so you might see some individual news from companies. NVIDIA's at 11:30. At this point, NVIDIA is up 60 cents. Okay, still in this range. It still has one of the best patterns out there. And although everyone's talking about how huge it was up last year, it really hasn't done anything since July, just consolidating that move. And AMD's been acting well. And we'll see if Apple's done going down and some flows come to tech, and we'll see how things build. At some point there will be names that get on the move and make highs and higher highs, and you could stay with them and get rewarded for that. Other times you just have to take trades. So for now, I'm kind of in take trades mode. I still want to see what goes on. Thursday is really the day when the macro comes into play again, which is CPI, which is important, and then Friday's the PPI. But for today, we're above yet Friday's lows and the SPYs and the Qs. Maybe they go green, maybe make a little cash flow, start your week on the right foot, and then try and net money all week, because it does add up. If you net money every single day, net, it will add up, and you will get your monthly paycheck or your quarterly paycheck. If you're in a hole, some people are. I'm pretty close to my high water mark. Every time I get close to there, something happens, like the first day of the year from last year. Just again, don't make it all up. Just chip away, then you'll get above it, you'll feel great, and you'll make some progress. Listen, routine, process, that's going to keep you in the game. That's going to make you execute with confidence. I appreciate you.